most of us have compressed bones in our skull. And why is that? Well, it's the food we eat. We're not eating as much hard food. You don't bite on like tough food anymore. We're more mouth breathers today than we have been. So our faces are more narrow. Our jaws are more narrow. Okay. And that lack of force creates weak bone structure within our face and even deep into our skull too. So there's many bones behind our nose and our eyes that are trying to do this dance with each other.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we explore the survivor's journey, practitioners making a difference, and the therapeutic treatments and transformational technology that allow the body to heal itself. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. We are here with Dr. Travis Johnson. Travis, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Freddie. Great to finally see your face.
I know, isn't it wild? We've known each other initially through Flowspresso, correct?
Yes, I think that's the first, contact we've had with each other was the Flowspresso purchase, and I got referred to you to deal with that.
First touch point. I was saying to you in all transparency and honesty that I had this ruminating thought leading up to our podcast time. I was like, man, I'd kind of like to punt our time. I didn't feel up to it. I was like, I don't feel 150%. I had listed off things like I had just done a course of Hellman therapy in the last 3 months. Then I've been on Zeocharge, this high-dose zeolite binder, for a month. And then I had gotten a really great viral experience last Wednesday, which luckily I had all the tools to turn around quite quickly. Even 2 days, just had a fever and body aches, and that was it. No respiratory, no nothing. But what my experience has been over the last month, I have one more thing I want to throw in. I'll get your professional opinion because I'm going to let the audience hear how ridiculous I am. I also started a cycle of Rapamune for longevity. So those are the things in the mix. I've been really feeling just zonked and tired for a month. I'm sleeping well. I'm sleeping 8.5 hours a night, uninterrupted, but my HRV is just crappy. It's 40s and 50s, where I'm a 70 to 80 guy. And I'm really noticing my nervous system is just not wanting to click back on. So it's wild. What would you tell somebody in my shoes?
Yeah, well, when you're talking about nervous system tone, right? So you got that parasympathetic, sympathetic state, right? We all know the two sides. My first instinct is, well, your body is taking so much energy fighting something, right? So that you don't have the energy to maybe feel the happiest or best mood, right? So it's like an internal battle that you are flushing something, or you are dealing with that infection or worm, like you mentioned. And that Zeocharge, that thing's powerful. When you get stuff to grip and bind onto stuff, that is literally, think of it like crossing through tissues, right? So you're going to be gripping not just, say, bugs, but you're going to be gripping maybe some metals and maybe some other neurotoxins that were stuck in there that you have to re-experience and exfoliate.
Yeah, it's really interesting now that you say that. It is, my body feels great. I'm not inflamed anywhere, but it's almost right here. I feel, my gut says it's a Zeocharge. I feel it in my prefrontal cortex. And I would just say it feels like something is stuck in here. And when I just did my Oligo scan and my HTMA, both tests said high aluminum, high cadmium. And it also indicated a fast oxidizer.
Yeah.
And my trend is always, it's hard for me to kind of relax and fall asleep at the end of the day. So there is that hypervigilance, which exists, which is a superpower for me, right? But it also can be my Achilles heel.
Yeah. Well, so this just clicked. So first of all, you pointed here with your hands.
Yeah.
And then, what's here, right? Well, we got a lot of bones here that can be contributing to some things that are holding on to in the from a brain matter standpoint, right? From an energy standpoint. And then you also mentioned, mineral balancing that you're working through as well. And when you have a sensation that's actually like between the eyes, almost like it's almost sinus, but it feels brain related to, like a fatigue almost. You have to wonder if there's a physical component rather than just a chemical, a biochemical, or maybe even emotional, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I always like thinking when some people go to their face, it's almost like, what facial expression are they giving you, right? And is it like a worry? And then also, like, where are they pointing to and how do they describe it? Well, is it pressure? Is it pain? So it's just interesting you brought that up, because I feel like there's, and you even brought this up before we even did this interview, is like, do you know anybody who does this treatment, this balloon treatment? So I'm curious what your history is with your face and your head and your sinus.
Yeah. Incredible. So I'm a singer, by training for years and years and years. Incredible deviated septum. Hold on. Let me see if I can breathe through my nose. Let me see if we can get this something like.
So close one
Yeah.
and then do the other.
Nothing. That was trying to breathe through the right. Let's see left. This is going to be the funniest podcast ever. Way better through the left.
Way better. And I would still say both restricted, but
Very
better.
restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can test that. There's actually, like, we have like a breath, it's a spirometer through the nose that you can breathe in and see how much pressure you can get through. And, you want to be sitting at it's like 150, but you can test that. And then we can test pre and post treatment too. And I don't know if you know this, do you realize that we talked about sympathetic, parasympathetic. So
Mm-hmm.
your left side of your nostril is more parasympathetic dominant,
Mm-hmm.
and your right nostril is more sympathetic. So if you can't breathe through your left, then you can't rest and digest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those are things to always pay attention to as well.
It's so interesting. This kind of leads me to, I just started to do a little Postural Restoration Institute, something I've been really interested in. I've had lots of abdominal surgeries, the big ones, retroperitoneal lymph node dissection, which if anybody in the audience, we should all know this term by now. I basically say it every show. I'm so annoyed at myself. It's like Oprah and Dave Asprey. Everybody always mentions the same thing. But because of the abdominal surgeries, I've got a lot of tightness, restriction. I guard there.
Mm.
So I started doing this postural stuff with a trainer here in Austin who I'm going to have on the show. And he gave me a couple exercises where I'll almost be like prone. I'd stretch one hand out, rotate the rib cage, tilt my head to one side, and I would breathe into my rib cage.
Mm.
And I did a session with him on Monday. My brain, everything felt 200%. And it lasted for a day. And my shoulders dropped 2 inches. I was like, what did we do? And the trainer said, he goes, dude, I can hear the spaces in between your words have all slowed down.
Wow.
He's like, go look at your shoulders in the mirror. It was all rib cage, pelvic floor breath. And we're working on getting the pelvis to move up and down, left and right, all simple things. I'm not, it's not like weightlifting, but it is retraining this structural alignment, which to your area of expertise, it's like, God, it just speaks to the fact that like you can't be your own healer. Cause I could run around in the circle. I was like, well, I need neurofeedback. Or maybe I need a red light on my brain, or I need to pull metals out of the fatty tissue in my prefrontal cortex. I could make up stories on what I think it is, but I need a Dr. Travis Johnson. So, Dr. Travis, first of all, I'm going to pay you for the first 8 minutes of the podcast as a consult. And then what would you tell people if we bumped into each other in Whole Foods? What would you describe your area of expertise to be? What would you say you do on the planet or in the world of wellness, even better yet?
Okay. So I would first say, well, the simplest thing is I am a chiropractor, right? So I went to chiropractic school, trained as a chiropractor. That's the easiest label I can give myself, because then people will understand, oh, you work on the body and you adjust bones and things like that. But then, if I had a long elevator ride, say it's a 80, floor elevator, then I'd go deeper into like, well, I'm not just like a typical, chiropractor where you're just going to lay on the table and crack your back and you're out the door, right? That's traditionally what people think of. Well, I'm going to go see a chiropractor. He's going to adjust my bones. I'm going to get noise, right? I would consider myself more specifically like a fascial-based chiropractor, right? So I'm really focused on the fascia, and that could be from the most deep internal like from the meninges that wrap around the brain and the spinal cord, everything there, all the way to like the extremities and just the fascia that wraps around our bones, our tendons, our muscles, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do this very specific ABC technique, which stands for Advanced Biostructural Correction. That's like my training that I got postgraduate.
Can you say that one more time, the ABC?
Advanced Biostructural Correction.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a very niche chiropractic technique. There's ABC doctors all throughout the country. You just have to find them. Some of them are Amish. You'll find out.
Okay.
And then I just recently got trained in the FCR, the Functional Cranial Release. And that was with Dr. John Lawrence down in Sarasota, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And so both of these techniques are very fascial based. So one is addressing the tension, like you were just describing what your experience was with that guy. Like he was literally just wringing you out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So ABC is literally that with an adjustment added to it. So I'm unwinding the tension in the body through these, what we call a meningeal release. Okay. So it's like a deep spinal stretch / adjustment, I guess, if you'd call that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go through this whole protocol of, ABC adjustment protocol, head to toe, every joint, shoulders, wrist, toes, fingers, everything, arches. And so it's a full experience. Right?
Yeah.
And then so I tell people the golden ticket, if you were going to, see me at my office, is getting the full ABC chiropractic. And then you'd follow it up with an FCR at the end. And the FCR, again, endonasal balloon treatment, or we're putting the balloons up this nasal passage, very specific spot. The FCR technique adds a little bit of functional neurology and applied kinesiology, and then some facial positions and head positions. So it's a little more complex than just sticking a balloon up your nose, which I find to have incredible results compared to the way I was doing it prior.
Amazing. We're going to have to, again, we got to get the audience up to speed. You're like, wait a second,
Yeah.
He just said he's going to put balloons up someone's nose.
Right.
And I want to tip my hat to chiropractors in general, because I know that some people are like, chiropractor is like, I don't believe in that, or it's back. There's a bunch of great memes floating around Instagram right now where they show the dummy being broken on the table. And I have to say, out of all the practitioners I've seen, some of the chiropractors have given me the most immediate improvements in symptomology in one session of any practitioner I've ever seen in my life, period, full stop. Like I've walked in pain and I've walked out being like, I feel amazing. And it's been more on the side of not standard chiropractic, not crack my back,
Right.
not even sometimes no cracking at all, more looking at the body, postural alignment. And they might put their hands like up under one rib and poke, and I'll cry a little bit, and then they'll adjust something else, and very intuitively guided. And again, walking out feeling like perfect, absolutely perfect. I think it's some of the integration work that is where I've not always understood. It's like, what should the homework be to keep some of these changes or integrate this new information into the structure?
Right. That's a debatable one, but I always go back to our ancestors, right? I had this conversation with a patient today that like, what should I be doing in between my adjustments? Like, what advice do you have? Like, well, I was trained in like rehab. So I was like a rehab to performance guy in college, and it's a big community out there. And you learn all the specific, do the dead bug, do the core activation and the bird dog, right? You like these standard stuff, but no, like, do people enjoy doing that? No. But would they enjoy going for a hike and maybe climbing up some rocks like a bear crawl? Like I tell people to move primally, right? So move, don't sit, squat, walk, but maybe how about, have you ever tried like sprinting for like 20 seconds into that, right? So I'm telling people to use their lifestyle as their workout rather than doing the specific rehab movement. And then you can kind of play around with different movement patterns and figure out, where am I restricted? Where do I hurt? What can I not do very well? And maybe I should do more of that because I'm doing too much sitting, whatever it might be. So I would say move primally in a very short term answer. That way, your DNA, your body already has those easy abilities to do those movements.
Yeah.
But I just don't think people don't understand that. So they just sit all day and they try to squat super heavy weight and they wonder why they're in pain.
I know. It's so interesting. I would say from the onset of one thing I've experienced from the onset of, I could say Lyme disease, but I could also say I had this severe, like, it was like all the emotionality of like being in New York City around 9/11 and trying to make it on my own and leaving home. And it was so much for my psyche to handle. I often say I would go in the shower, I would like cry in the shower, I wouldn't tell anybody. And then one day I woke up with full body rheumatoid arthritis. I mean, like one day I went to sleep and the next day I couldn't close my hands, hurt to bend my knees. And that tension index, probably let's call that like a 110 out of 0. Probably today it's at 18 to 19, but the rigidity or the memory of that, it lives as a little bit of fear in my body. So another example of this trainer, he's like, get into a 90-90 lunge. And I was like, I can't do that. He's like, okay, get on the ground and be in a 90. He's like, you can do it on the ground. Why can't you get into a 90-90 if you can be in that position? I was like, it's too much tension. And sure enough, cueing, prompting, pelvic floor, gave me a hand assist. I did it a couple times. And I was like, if you took a video of it, you wouldn't have believed it, like how feeble I was getting down. And we just got it with breath and man, 30% improvement range of motion. And it was a 15 minutes on working on this 90-90 lunge. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God, my body is just scared of this. Whatever it's holding in this upper quad, it's fear. And I woke up in the middle of the night that night. The pain, it had moved down into my shins, the same pain. And it was like a ball of, I was like a little nervous. And at the same time, I was super stoked. I was like, bro, it's moving. Whatever we did, we moved it. Like we got it on the run. So my point is I believe in your work. I believe in what you do. Do you have any great examples of similar experiences with people you've had on the table before?
Oh yeah. So and what you're describing is it's just changing that fascia, like you're like releasing a little egg, so to speak. It's like your little ball of tension is just moving around and it's going to kind of, follow the track until it's out. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So everything you're describing is fascial based stuff. Right. And it really is everything, because even you mentioned fear, right? So like our emotions are tied right into that fascia. We don't understand, like a lot of people don't understand that the trauma and the previous injuries they've had are literally stored within their tissues. And if they've never had that worked on or had any person like place their hands on there and like try to like release that, it's probably the most profound way to heal, because you actually having like an actual practitioner be there, understand your issue. And if you're talking through it, you're bringing up that memory as well. And the breath, you mentioned you're breathing through that movement, right? So when you're breathing, you're activating your nervous system, right? So you're telling your body to pay attention to those places. Breath, oxygen. Okay, now we have fascia innervated by the nervous system. Okay, we have memories stored within our tissue. And then again, you have all these toxins that you want to mix into the cells too, right? So these are all playing along with each other. And so what you're describing is literally like, you could describe it as a detox. It could be an emotional detox. It could be a physical mental detox, right? So everything in my world is based around this fascia, and I see it every day, every day. Like even today, I can tell a quick story. Like I was really struggling with this kid, this 22-year-old kid. He came through. He had 10 out of 10 excruciating pain last night. No reason. His hip, right in his hip joint.
Yeah.
They brought the kid to the ER. It was midnight. They did all the MRIs, all the x-rays, all the tests, completely normal, blood work normal. The only thing that was high was C-reactive protein. They're like, it was really high. I'm like, yeah, he's 10 out of 10 pain. He's inflamed. Yeah, that makes sense. But they're like, no. C-reactive protein, we have to get this checked out. So this doc recommended he go get a hip aspiration of the synovial fluid in his hip, which is like pretty invasive and unnecessary for like, there's no reason why his hip was hurting. It wasn't like they were thinking infection. And so it just goes to show like the fear mongering that was involved for the last 12 hours in his life. Like you should have saw his mom when she couldn't stop talking. Like, I don't know what to do. I know. I'm like, just breathe. Just breathe.
How old was the kid?
He's 22 years old.
22.
So he was 22 years old, and he has some conditions. I think he has like an Asperger's, and so his mom kind of helps with them, getting through. And he understands if he's in pain or not, but she wouldn't really believe him at first. But anyways, like they went with like the aspiration of the hip, took the synovial fluid out, nothing, no infection. They wanted them to stay overnight. They're like, no, going home. He came here, and literally it's just his fascia, like his whole hip was just super tight and locked up, that I think he was just walking really awkwardly for a while. And, I'm not, he's just going to do some rehab, and I think he'll be okay. And the fact that people get so scared with such little things like that, and get convinced to spend thousands of dollars over the course of hours for no help, no results, go home, take Tylenol. That's what kind of drives me. It's like when I see these patients with these basic fascial issues or emotional, connections, like they're really easy to solve. It's just about bringing it up by asking a simple question. And usually they're halfway there.
Yeah. Because you're in clinical practice and you see a population of people who are like, they're in need. They come to you because they're Dr. Travis. This is what's going on in 2024. Do you see trends move through the office? Do you see people come in with like similar things and similar patterns? Is there all over the map right now?
I tell you, it's wild. All the time I see trends. And I can't, like, if I could specifically tell you a couple, I will, but they change every time. It's not like a pattern. It's not like this time of year in September, this issue comes. No, it's just a trend that like washes through the clinic. And I'm like, where did that come from? Like, obviously you'll notice, some of the sickness stuff come through because
Sure.
we're just in contact with it. But I was telling, I was at the Hack Your Health. This is a funny story because like I was at the Hack Your Health event down in Austin, and we were doing some of these balloon treatments on people. And I'm telling you, it's pretty rare to get like a bloody nose from it, but it can happen. I would maybe get one every 6 months from like say 300 balloons or something like that. Every single person got a bloody nose. And then I came back here up in my hometown, started treating people. Every single buddy got a bloody nose. And I didn't know what was going on. I was like, am I doing this wrong? Like, what is it? I don't know. I still don't know the exact reason, but there's something going on with these trends of everybody as a collective is experiencing the similar things, right? And so I don't know the answer to it, but I definitely can pay attention to them. And, maybe there's some higher intuitive that like can know exactly the answer. But yeah, there's definitely trends of pains. Like everybody comes in, I got right hip pain. It's like, it just seems like we're all tuned into this, some kind of a frequency. I don't know exactly where it comes from, but we are experiencing very similar things with people that don't even live next to each other.
Yeah. The one I've noticed, all my friends who have been going to get this, either in hair mineral analysis, where we break down hair in a lab and we see what minerals the body is letting go of in the tissue, or the oligo scan, everybody has been high in aluminum. I mean, ripping high, the most high of all my friends. And I've never been high in aluminum.
Oh,
That was a new one for me, even because I've done 7 or 8 of the tests over time.
yeah.
Relatively balanced. Aluminum and cadmium was very, very high. It's interesting.
Mine was really high too. I was just looking at my results with Matt Kaufman, and yeah, my lumen was high, cadmium was high. And then I sent him the meme like after that. There was like a group of people that had metal detectors in the air, and they're like, it's in the air.
Well, and I don't know, and again, I don't want to speak to, this is really on the periphery of my knowing, but there's something in Texas where they were doing like an aluminum spray or dust in the air is part of a weather experiment.
Correct.
Over the last 6 months. I'm not sure why or what, but that was a thing. It was in the news, and CNN and Fox and everywhere was reporting on it. So maybe it's something to that degree.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of speculation right now that there are, the weather changing abruptly on the right yards and unexplainable. Like I've never seen this happen like that before. So you can only imagine there's some kind of metal, aluminum oxide chemical they could spray to create something. That's not my expertise, but it's definitely possible that they're using some of these compounds in our environment. It only makes sense it's coming from our environment, because especially like if I'm eating my own garden food and I'm eating my own hunted meat And so like, I know it's not coming from my food. Then where else would it come from? Like, it's got to be from out in the environment that I'm exposing myself to.
Yeah.
So
I would say the same thing. Yeah, my two stories are that yes, it's environmental because, like you, I'm pretty darn clean with everything I eat and in the sauna and doing all the things, coffee enemas to Zeocharge to dot, 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 dot. However, I did grow up from 13 to probably 23, and then a couple of years around 26. I was working in a mechanical engineering firm that was a design and fabrication shop, which made metal, lots of metal duct, lots of aluminum dust. And so is that coming out in my system at this time now that
yeah.
possible?
Can I ask you a question, Freddie? I
Yeah.
mean, I know most people know your story with the cancer, the testicular cancer. And I guess, did we ever come to a finite reason to why that may have happened? Because I have my own thoughts, but I'm curious to what you truly believe is creating some of these cancers in people's body parts.
I mean, my gut intuitive, and this has come to me a couple times in deep therapy sessions. Both times I've done EMDR. And yeah, some deep therapy is that there was a time when literally the first time I was ever in love, I was betrayed. I had a really bad betrayal. And so much to the fact that I couldn't process it at that time.
Right.
It was just, I remember the pain and the hurt. And yeah, I would tell you that. I would say my body took a big portion of that offline and said, we're going to park this somewhere else.
Got it. The reason I ask is we were talking about environment, talking pollutants. My dad just, he got diagnosed. He's going through chemo here in like 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
He worked at a refinery, at a gas, Flint Hills, the Koch brothers refinery, right?
Yeah.
And he was one of the individuals that would go down in those tanks and clean the tanks.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even allow people to do that anymore because it's so toxic. I think it's like a benzene chemical. And so he has the multiple myeloma, which lawyers, and then you could look online, like they've all attributed this chemical for that cancer.
Yes.
And so it's like, obviously this environment thing is causing a lot of these cancers to appear, along with your lifestyle choices. But there's triggers, right? There's triggers. There's ultimate DNA damaging triggers that are causing this to happen. And then, of course, there's probably some other reasons in the last 4 years that could have triggered too.
Yeah. Immune system balance, Th1, Th2. I always, this is something that I didn't understand until I got into the world of Desiree Despong and Flowspresso. But I was like, I didn't know that all our NK killer cells and our B cells and our T cells are all formed in the lymph nodes and then go off to mature in other areas of the body. And lymphatic flow is immune system. And there's and I say little, there's like no training on lymphatics as a defense mechanism at all.
Yeah.
So the only time your cancer is referenced when it's involved, it's very derogatory towards, oh my God, I'm sorry, your lymph system, caught the cancer, or what a bad lymphatic system, it spread to your lymph. Not maybe the lymph node is doing its job by delaying the cancer before it spreads directly to your brain. So there's that component too. Team. In the 21st century, staying healthy requires intention. Since the Industrial Revolution, toxicants like aluminum, mercury, and glyphosate have skyrocketed, harming mitochondrial function. That's why I currently use Zeocharge, which is a powerful detox magnet that selectively removes toxins while preserving nutrients, vitamins, and minerals. You can check out episode 206 with founder Jeff Hoyt, where we dive into the science and the case studies if you want to learn more. Plus, if you're not satisfied, you can simply return your jars within 30 days for a full refund. If you're interested to try Zeocharge, you can use code BeautifullyBroken for a 10% discount on Zeocharge at no risk to you. Big love and happy detoxing. Team. After battling Lyme disease and cancer for 20 years, I'm always on the lookout for cutting-edge ways to slow biological age and repair damaged tissue. A key factor is our body's ability to produce stem cells. a process that unfortunately declines sharply after age 30. In fact, age-related disease can reduce your stem cells by up to 50%. This is where stem regen comes in. This is a stem cell booster that has personally helped me, increasing circulating stem cells by up to 300 million in 1 month. You heard that right. Stem regen optimizes your body's repair system using powerful adaptogens to naturally enhance the stem cell production within the body. For full scientific deep dive research, you can check out episode 179 with founder Christian Drapeau. And I'm excited to share that Stem Regen offers a 30-day money-back guarantee on purchases through the official website. You can use code BEAUTIFULLYBROKEN for $30 off your first order. Let's go, let's grow, let's repair.
Yeah, the lymphatic system. So thank you for giving me that Flowspresso, by the way. It's been a blessing for a lot of patients here. We use it pretty strictly for three things, sleep help, and then lymphatic flow, so detoxification protocols, and then weight loss.
Yeah.
And we have found that, draining a lot of the excess fluid out of people allows their stem cells to really regenerate a lot of healing. And then you add the infrared heat on top of that too, and you get a pretty profound experience. I know the first time I did that Flowspresso, it was like a massage. You wake up and you're like, I don't even know where I am, and then you get to the third one and you start feeling like, wow, I feel like my pipes are clean. Like you actually feel that sensation. So I really appreciate that technology. I think it's just a huge step above like a Normatec or anything like that. So it's such a good clinical piece of device.
Yeah. And that was a big reason why, since we've talked, the company has taken the device through FDA as a class 2 medical device. And the new training we've developed and recorded, and then we've brought on another great naturopath, Michelle Nelson, to do like the second part of the training. So it's been really great giving people not only the tool, but understanding how to put it in context with your client population and how to really use it for the best possible outcomes. I'm still learning every day. I'm always like, oh my God, it does that. And there's that function. It's really such a blessing to understand the bioregulatory effects of your lymphatic when it's online.
Right. Yeah. And we're kind of like a biohacking clinic. We consider ourselves over here too. So we'll biostack a lot of stuff with it too.
Mm-hmm.
We'll do everything, between like a microcurrent ear clip onto like a red light panel over your face. And then we actually have like this solar gem, which is like a light crystal that you can kind of beam to your head too. So whatever, floats your boat.
Yeah.
But of course we had the music, right? The music on top of there too. But one thing I haven't played around with, and maybe you can speak on this, is like having a practitioner with them while they have this on the head, like cranial sacral therapy. Maybe it can't get your neck, right? So maybe like a neck massage therapist, lymphatic drainage massage therapist. I feel like there's a whole nother market that, you could start a specific like Flowspresso business through.
I got to put you in touch with Michelle Nelson because that's what she does. We call it a lymph guru. So as a naturopath and a lymphatic drainage specialist, she's worked with the tech for 4 years. And before we had the Flow Vibrate wands, that's what she would do. She would sit at the head of the table and just do all the lymph nodes in the face, head, and neck, 600 to 800 nodes in the body, 300 in the face, head, and neck. Like you can't skip that. But what I would tell people is the really easy way to not get it wrong is just to have 2 vibrational wands, 2 Flow Vibrate wands, and work bilaterally, starting at the termini and then up behind the ears and the tonsils and the face and around the eyes and the occipital joint. And it's easy for me. I'm bald. So I could just do like the whole cranium and it feels so good. For me, that takes it to this white glove 4-star service. It's just amazing. It's amazing. I want to pivot, Dr. Travis, to this idea of, you mentioned advanced biostructural correction. Every time I see ABC, I'm like, always be coaching. And I want to talk about that, but I also want to talk about the functional cranial release. I'm saying that right?
Correct. Yep.
So frame for the audience who may or may not understand the idea of using the nose and using a balloon to work with the plates or the structures in the face, head, and neck?
Okay. Yeah. So the functional cranial release, a lot of people will call it a endonasal balloon treatment. Okay. Now, why would you even want to get this done? Right. Specifically, your ability to breathe through your nose is like number one. Right. So we all understand your ability to breathe through your nose is very important. So if you cannot do that, you are not saturating your body, your brain with oxygen as much as you would like to. Okay. Secondly, most of us have compressed bones in our skull. And why is that? Well, it's the food we eat. We're not eating as much hard food. We don't bite on like tough food anymore. We're more mouth breathers today than we have been. So our faces are more narrow. Our jaws are more narrow. Okay. And that lack of force creates weak bone structure within our face and even deep into our skull too. So there's many bones behind our nose and our eyes that are trying to do this dance with each other. Okay. And what's wild, I just got off the phone with a lady who like trains the practitioners in this balloon, and she brought something up to me that I wasn't aware of. So I'll share with you guys. She was saying, so like specifically, the balloon is going to be going into the nasal passage. Okay. So there's a very specific location that I addressed to put it in. And what it's wanting to do is whole sphenoid, the sphenoid bone specifically. We're trying to lift that bone up. And I consider the sphenoid like the keystone of your head. Okay. It's right in the middle, and all the bones around it connect to sphenoid. Sphenoid is a very ancient bone. Okay. It's kind of moved around from our head, our neck as we evolved. Now, a lot of the cranial nerves, so if you think of a cranial nerve, they start way back here. Okay. So you got 12 of them, and a lot of them come straight through, right? So you got your ear, your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your tongue, your swallowing, right? Your eye function. Those are all controlled by cranial nerves that start back through here. So it has to get through all these fascial and bone structures. And you could think about if that sphenoid is tilted or if it's kind of compressed from any trauma, then it's going to affect your ability to do those things. Okay. And she was even mentioning like generational sphenoid formation is dictated by your parents. So like if your dad, let's say, got hit in the head with a baseball bat, you now, and he has a kid, right? Now you're going to be born with his sphenoid, his damaged sphenoid. And so you could actually be treating your dad's injury, which was wild, because one thing that I'll mention with this treatment is it can be extremely emotional. It can be a very emotional experience, and you don't know why. Personally, I've had basically no trauma in my life. Okay. Basically none. And so I went through this treatment myself, and it was like literally one of the only like first times I've had an emotional release, and I had no idea why until it happened. And so basically what happened was it broke up all the fascial adhesions that I had in my sinus from years of struggling with allergies. So if you think 30 years of literally just think of that tension that's building back there, right? Every morning, stuffed, clogged, congested, rhinitis, right? All that stuff's happening. You're building scar tissue there, right? And I never got help. Nobody ever helped me. Steroids never helped me. No procedure that was available in the market ever helped. So finally, I was 32 years old, right? And I get this done. And it was first experience pissed. That was really intense. I didn't expect that. And I was pissed that nobody's ever helped me. So that was the first emotion that came through. Like I was like crying, right? And then the second emotion that came through was like, I am so grateful that I found something that has helped me and I can feel it instantly. And then that was like tears of joy, right? So like these are experiences people are having way more now than it has in the past. And I'd really attribute that through Dr. John's training. And so when you get this done, people ask me, like, even today, she's like, well, who is this for? If you feel called to it, it's for you. Like it doesn't have to be a specific thing. Like, yeah, ideally, if you have a deviated septum, right? If you have eye focus issues, like you can't focus on my finger, pressing by you, you can't breathe through your nose, you've ever been hit in the face, you've ever had concussion, whiplash, literally jaw misalignment, hearing problems. Like if you can think of anything around here that you have an issue, this should be something that you should consider because it's relatively quick, it's really simple, and it's an experience that I think you'd enjoy if you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
But it's invasive, right? People are a little scared because it's in your face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you've never had a balloon or an instrument in there. It's so funny. I'm remembering this. I had a trauma in kindergarten. Playtime in kindergarten. I don't think I told this story at the podcast. Remember the letters that you could stick on the board and they were like magnetic alphabets? Mm-hmm. They're all colored. Mm-hmm. There were magnets in the back of one. For whatever reason, I got a hold of the letter. I pulled the magnet out. I pushed it in my nose. And I was like, I was balancing at my nose and all of a sudden somebody bumped me. I knocked it all the way up into my nose. Started crying like gangbusters in kindergarten. And the teacher's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "There's a magnet in my nose." She was like, "Freddie, there's no magnet in your nose." I'm like, "It's all the way in there." And finally they were like, they asked me, they're like, "Who did it?" And I literally pegged it on the class clown who was always in trouble. I was like, "Jimmy Glidden did it." I'm so sorry, Jimmy, if you listen to this podcast. I blamed it on Jimmy Glidden. Never apologized. He got in trouble. I went to the nurse's office. They were like, "Well, we're going to have to use an instrument to get it out." Mm-hmm. I'm imagining that they're going to like get a trombone or a tuba up my nose. And I was inconsolable. I don't remember how it worked out. They got the magnet out, but intense.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You're already desensitized, Freddie. So it won't be worse than that. So
you said, I want to go back here, the connection of the sphenoid bone. What connects these bones in the face? What is the connection?
Okay. So we're going in here, right?
Yep. And for those at home, we're holding up a skull when we're holding different colored plates on the face.
Okay. So we're going to go directly into the sinus nasal cavity. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's going to be an upper, a middle, and a lower chamber that we can go into. Okay. Each side. So 3 in each side. Okay. I'm going to test where to go by placing my fingers on very specific fascial points through that sphenoid. So this red right here is the sphenoid bone. So I'm going to be pushing lower, middle, and superior sphenoid to figure out where am I going to put that balloon through this way. Mm-hmm. Okay. Very simply put. Now, if you notice just from the side here, look at all the bones connecting to sphenoid, right? Maxilla, zygomatic, temporal, parietal, frontal. They're all touching sphenoid, right? So then if we open this guy up, this is where it gets really wild. So most people haven't seen like the bottom of the inside of their skull, right?
Yeah.
I haven't either. But so look at here. This is all sphenoid. Okay. You got pineal and cribriform plate right here. Okay. So what we're trying to do is push the cerebral spinal fluid up through that spinal ventricle, like the actual ventricles within the brain, to get that fluid flowing to start flushing a lot of the toxins from a neurobrain standpoint. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's one thing. But actually changing the position of the sphenoid here is going to affect all the bones attached to it. Okay. And this plate right here, this is where that fascia I was talking about anchors itself. Okay. So that meningeal dura fascia anchors itself right in the front here. And you can see how close that is to that actual nasal bone here. And then it wraps around the brain and then comes right down to the spinal cord.
Wow.
Okay. So that makes total sense, doesn't it? Like if we were going to release tension in the body from a most fundamental way, most center point of the body, it's going to be right here because that's where it's anchored. That's where it starts, wraps around the brain, goes down the spinal cord, connects to the rest of the body. Right. So this is where that air passes through your nose and then rubs right across this plate here to basically hyperionize the oxygen, right, in the cerebral spinal fluid. So it's very fascinating, this bone. This is like I said, it's a very ancient, very fascinating bone. To me, this is like the keystone of like consciousness.
Amazing. And I'm assuming the endonasal procedure or functional cranial release over time, does it hold some of the malleability or the change?
Yeah, absolutely. So like that's the thing. Like I usually tell people to do a series of this because again, we're going to be switching positions. It's going to move around. So it's pretty close to permanent once you get through that first series. Okay. We're going to break up a majority of the fascial restrictions in that bone just through the first series. Now, if it's somebody who's had something pretty traumatic or for a long time, we would take a break for like a month or two, and then we would do another series to get to the next layer.
Mm-hmm.
Because your body still has to assimilate the change, right? So I still want you to go run and breathe through your nose and live life because your body's gonna. It takes time to like readjust to this stuff. It's not in the beginning it's gonna move a lot, and you got to be prepared for that. Especially if you're somebody who's had significant trauma to the face, expect a significant result and significant I say experience.
Recalibration.
Yeah, recalibration. You may want to, take a day out. May want to do it on a Saturday or something, because
Right.
I remember after my first one, I was brain foggy. I didn't really want to have conversations, and I was down at a biohacking mastermind. I think Thaddeus, Primal
Mm-hmm.
Hacker,
Yeah.
and we were down at that mastermind, and I couldn't talk to anybody. I'm like, I literally just have to go to sleep, and I had a little headache too. So just know there's a reaction.
Yeah. I would assume so. Man, it's so wild. And is it, I assume you said you were doing these and then you went through another training and it changed the way that you were doing the procedure. Who do people look for? Is there like a credential or a certification that they went through?
Yes, and I'm not familiar with all the certifications. I think there's a few different versions out there. I was originally trained through ABC to do the balloons, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And that was really basic training. It was just like put the balloon in on this place and pump it up and take it out, and that was about it. And that's pretty much the majority of what it is with all the techniques. That's pretty much what it is. The discrepancy of the technique that you'll find is should you do all the chambers all at once every visit? Or should you be very specific on which chamber you're doing on each side
Mm-hmm.
and then letting the body assimilate that way? Or should you do one treatment? Should you do 10? Should it be 5,000? Should it be $200? There's a lot of discrepancy in that. And that's probably why it's not such a super well known thing right now. I mean, it's blowing up on YouTube.
It is blowing up. I see more and more people, more and more professional athletes, more Olympic athletes are starting to do this.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say, regardless of how you're getting it done, it's going to be a good result. I do think there's a poor way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you may have seen on the videos, like when you see that balloon coming out their mouth, that's a fail. Like that is not good. Like you do not want that. At the very most, it like barely exits back to your throat. But that's where the skilled practitioner comes in and knows what they're doing and not just doing it because I want the treatment.
Yeah.
So I always preface like really make sure you do a background check on who you're going to get this done from. And so the functional cranial release technique, there was, maybe only about a handful of people I know in the country that are trained that way. So if referral wise, if you're down south, I refer you to Dr. John in Sarasota. If you're in the Midwest, you come over here in Minneapolis. From there, you could look up cranial fascial release, CFR. That's probably the other big technique. You can actually find their website, and they got a provider map on different practitioners throughout the country that are trained in that.
Great. I always like to give people resources or at least point them in the right direction when this is something they're interested in.
That way, you at least know these doctors are trained. They're actually trained in the technique and not just trying to practice on people.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, functional cranial release is like what I do specifically, trained by Dr. John, and then the functional cranial release. They're really close niche people within the network. So I would also look into that for somebody nearby.
Yeah. Just being aware of our time and our hour. Can we talk a little bit about just your practice and your business and how you have things flow in your clinic? You've mentioned all the different modalities you're involved in, but what are some of the things that you love having in the office? If you could almost think like an avatar of a standard patient coming in, how do people work with you and what's that look like?
Yeah. There's really two patients that I really like to help. And the way our clinic is set up is it's very integrative. And what that means is that there's different services here for different aspects of the body, right? So they're coming into me really as a consult to figure out, hey, what should I do? Here's my problem. What should I do? And that's where I can delegate. So I have a Julie who's she's kind of an emotional, intuitive soul worker that helps people through trauma and emotions and relationships and abuse and addiction, right? So she's working on that level. I have Preston, who's more of the rehab. He's getting into the HTMA, mineral balancing. He's doing, health coaching, weight loss coaching. He's kind of an all-in-one type of practitioner. And then I got a couple front desk people, right? And so I can delegate around what people need. So I'd say the two biggest ones are really the neurology patients, the ones that have some neurological, and to me that means pain. That could be dysfunction, and that could be metabolic. Metabolism is everything. Mitochondria is everything. So we really focus on those things here with the therapies. And so I always recommend you doing the therapies in conjunction with some body work, chiropractic work, functional cranial release work, rehab work, whatever we're doing. And that looks like full body red light therapy. We got a full high power bed here. We have the Flowspresso. I usually combo those two together. So they do red light first, vibration plate, Flowspresso. That's kind of the weight loss, I would say, protocol, along with, supplements and coaching and guides and stuff like that. And then we have a membership where we have a Me-Gun massage bed. So you can kind of relax the deep fascia before you get adjusted, kind of heats you up, takes the tension out of you. And then we have PEMF, pulse electromagnetic field therapy. And we have we have one of those cool catalyst devices where it's like a big magic crystal ball that you hold on to.
Yeah.
And then you can see like the lightning going through it. It's a pretty cool device.
Do you stand on a plate and hold the ball? Is that and the current goes around in a circle, kind of runs through?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is it a component of the immortal chamber?
Yeah.
Got it.
They don't make this one anymore. So if they're listening, only I use it.
Great.
But yeah, it's the coolest PEMF device I've used because it creates a full circuit in your body. So the electrons are coming right through the hands. You feel it right through. I mean, it's shocking.
Yeah.
And then it's coming right out the grounding plate. So we have that here at the office. And then, just, some other little like microcurrent devices and, just little different gems that you can use throughout the office. Oh, and we've had it for like 2 months, the hydrogen unit. So from Axiom H2, Matteo hooked us up with this hydrogen generator. And we have like a full service hydrogen water purchasing thing through the clinic. So what we do is we get a glass jug, we reverse osmosis water, we put the Baja salt minerals right in there, and then we hydrogenate it and we sell that as like a water purchase. And then we do the treatments too. So a lot of functional cranial release patients, they're getting hydrogen cannulas after these treatments. If you know anything about hydrogen, super antioxidant, super cleansing, anti-inflammatory. So it only makes sense to breathe that in. So it's been fun. I think I'm done with the devices for now.
Yeah.
I have a lot to already tackle. Now I'm really just focusing on growing, offering these kind of protocol to other places around the country. And I just want to blow up that way. So it's always fun to go in Austin. I definitely want to come back to visit Austin. Loved it.
Yeah, you have to let me know when you're here because we'll have you over for a sauna and we'll bring you through the biohacking lounge. And pretty much everything you said, I have some component of here. And my latest, one of the stacks I love for weight loss, I love to have people in the cold plunge for 3 to 5 minutes, do the red light. They go into Flowspresso, and I just got a Nano V, which does the structured water. So, and it's so nice because you don't necessarily have to wear a cannula. It can just blow it right in your mouth. Great stack.
Super. That's like the perfect stack right there.
It's a good stack.
I had a cold plunge here. Nobody did it for like 5 months, and I'd have a single patient try it. They wouldn't do it.
Really?
I swear. And I mean, they're already getting cold in the winter. Like it's not that big of a deal, but It's just the wrong setup, I guess, for my office. Mine's more of it's not like biohacky setup. I don't have a shower here and stuff, but
Yeah.
so I just brought it home.
Yeah. I mean, I pretty much, I take my shower. I have an outdoor shower, so I'll shower outdoors. And even if I'm not going to do 3 to 5, I jump in the thing. I'll do a dunk. I'll do 20
Yeah.
seconds, 30 seconds, but usually end up doing 3 minutes and do a head dunk, hold my face under. This morning I went to Barton Springs and I went to a yoga class and I had about 1 hour and I knew it was 20 minutes drive time to the spring and then 20 minutes back, but I did it. I was like, I want to be in nature's mineral water just for a little bit. And honestly, it gave me, you just let go of so much stuff when it's a nature setting. I think sometimes, we try to bring things in like the cold plunge and mine's outside.
Yeah.
I'm on rock plates and I got the outdoor shower. So it's a really nice setup. But sometimes I do think that it's without the showers, without a really great place to integrate back into your workflow, sometimes it's not a great fit.
Yeah. And I would preface, like, for the people listening, like, these biohacking devices, you can get too far with them, right? What I'm trying to emulate at the office is, hey, get exposed and experience these technologies so that you can now implement these into your life, right? What are you doing in your life that mimics this red light, right? How much time are you looking at that sun, right? How about the PEMF? Are you walking around the yard barefoot, right? So I'm like trying to train and teach these people. This isn't like the way, but like this is the modern way, right? But we've always done this stuff. So depending on who you are, what's your job, like find a way to make this into your life. Don't be so dependent on coming into the office to do this. It's kind of just like a wake up call, really, is how I see it.
Yeah. I heard one time it was Dr. Tom, or it was a patient that was a biomed center in Arizona. And he was like, you know what? Being there, and I had access to everything, hard shells and pulse centers and Flowspresso and NanoV and everything. He goes, I felt so good. And what it gave my body real social proof that I could feel good, that it was there, the potential, and it had been so long since I felt that way. To experience these peak moments of feeling like I was normal really got him stoked again about his body. And yeah, I would join with you. It's like, how can you get it into nature? I was just listening to a guy on YouTube, one of the biological age test, looking at how fast or slow that you're aging. And it's really, I love that people are using this metric now because you can see CrossFit and marathons and eating the standard American diet is hyper aging you. Whereas some of these things like the NanoV or prolonged fasting are really extending life. So we get to flip that on its head a little bit. But even one of the youngest guys who has achieved this very, very amazing biological age was like, on the weekends, I don't take supplements. I give myself a break because I want to allow this idea that I am dependent on these things. He goes, when I go out to dinner, I eat. I eat off my plate. I eat off everybody else's plate. I know it's not perfect food, but I'm focused on the conversations and the friendships and the bond. And the more I can just be present and not be so neurotic about what the micros are on my plate, the more fun I have. And I was like, God, what a great reminder that is.
It's so good. Yeah, the wellness community sometimes we get super analytical, right? We just get so focused on this is the right thing. And then you forget about, okay, well, what's natural that comes to me, right? What kind of community can I indulge in rather than some kind of, super biohack peptide stem cell injection, right? Because it's going to get too far. It's going to get too far.
Yeah. And I know plenty of people with all the toys and all the tools, and to me, from the outside, I watch them just spiral, and it's like what the things that are the pain points just change. I don't always see people, have a dramatically improved quality of life. I think you got to put it in context and remember we're human beings. And how can you get back to the being, not the doing and the I'm guilty. I can only say this because I am hyper vigilant in all the things I do. And for me, I've had enough people say, just let it go. Like, just be on the couch, like get into a Netflix series, whatever it is, just do it. Just do it. Let yourself be. And that for me has been really great advice lately.
Yeah. Don't stress.
Don't stress. Watch that stress. Well, Dr. Travis, I'd love to do it again. Beautifully Broken podcast. The idea of putting these pieces back together. What does it mean to you to be beautifully broken?
Beautifully broken. Yeah. I think we're beautiful already. I think we're born beautiful. And I believe that we're only broken from life, right? So again, I can't stop thinking about from a chiropractic philosophy, like the innate intelligence, right? The body's own ability to heal itself. That starts when you were born, right? We are perfect beings when we're born. And we get broken from life, like you went through, right? Relationships, injuries, finances, all these things break us. And so to me, that is literally the epitome of life. We are supposed to go through the suffering to learn lessons. And when we go through that, we become way better at helping other people get through those lessons through experience. And that's just where wisdom comes in. So I'm just so grateful to meet you, Freddie, and get on your podcast. And I for sure want to do this again and come down to Austin sometime and yeah, just go to Barlow Springs again. That was awesome. I loved jumping in that creek. It was so clean.
Oh, it's so good. You can see right to the bottom. It's what a blessing to be 20 minutes away. And, I find excuses all the time. I was like, no, there's traffic, or it's every single time I go, it's the sunshine, the smiles, the medicine. It's being reminded. I was like, oh, look at all the people out here having fun. This is wild.
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, they're bringing like ferrets down there to go swimming and stuff. It's so funny.
yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. Just the state of the world right now and the hyperpolarized nature. If I could give you a magic wand and you can tune in all the television sets of the planet to channel Dr. Travis Johnson, what would you say to unite? Especially, let me give you the television stations in America. What would you tell people just to be able to like drop stuff and unite? What are your words?
So great question. Like a good channel to tune into is, I would say, where you find love, right? So the things that you love in life and make you smile are the things that you really have to focus and tune into. So if you're watching a show, and the show can be literally your vision, like what are you putting your eyes on, right? So right now we are getting sucked into this online world, which can be great, awesome, right? But when you have identified it as like a dopamine rush where you get sucked into the materialistic stuff and you're not focusing on the actual person that loves you and is next to you, right? Then we have a huge, I would say we're on the wrong channel, right? And so I would say if you can really focus on what you are putting your eyes on and what channel you are watching and really sit back and like journal about that. Is this exactly what I love and who I love? Or is something tempting me on my shoulder as a distraction? And am I giving into that? Right. I feel a lot of people are struggling right now. I see a lot of patients come to me and they're so depressed. They feel defeated and they don't have any way out. And what I've found myself, because I've been in that situation too, is putting your head down with a group of people that are like minded, that you vibe with, and just talk about those things, right? It's just expressing yourself and what you're going through. Otherwise, it's going to fester in your body and create pain and disease. So if you don't let it out and like talk to like God in some way, then nobody can help you. God can't help you. Your friend can't help you. Your wife can't help you. So pay attention to the channel that you're putting your eyes on so that, yeah, you don't spiral so far where the TV turns off.
Yeah. Your last question, Travis, what brings you back into love when you're distracted?
What brings me back into love when I'm distracted is the things that mean the most to me. Okay. I always tell people we all have a why, right? So, why do we do the things that we do? And it comes so fundamental to me. It's my wife, it's the future family I want to build with her, right? It's the practice it's clear my passion is to treat these people. And because, I love it, right? I'm good at it. I love it. And if I can just focus on those two things, then I think the community, the world gets better. And the distractions are always there. They're always there. And I think it's just about managing them in some way, because it is hard. It's really hard to become an influencer and not be addicted to posting everything you're doing, right? They don't really go hand in hand with each other. So it's really like a mental battle of like deciding, how do you get awareness for what you're doing, but also don't get sucked into it so much that you don't even enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast. I'm so stoked to get this out to the world. We'll definitely have you back on, and you got to let me know when you're in Austin so we can do some just touring around. It's a great city. There's so many opportunities, and there's so many like-minded people down here that I know you love.
Awesome. Can't wait, Freddie. Thank you so much.
Yes. Big love. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, and please leave us a review. 5 stars if you loved it. And before you leave, there is one big way you can continue the learning and the deepening of this relationship we started in this very episode. You can go to beautifullybroken.world and check out our brand new website store. Listed are all the wellness technologies, the supplements, the educational courses that I love and I personally use. Most of them offer significant discounts just by using the link or the discount code, which is normally Beautifully Broken, and they do support the podcast through affiliations. Now, we have a brand new feature. If you want to see the beautiful faces of our guests and watch me unbox and review products, you can head over to our new YouTube channel, Beautifully Broken World. I do have to tell you, our OnlyFans page is under construction, so stand by for that. This last announcement is from my vast team of internet lawyers. The information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. By listening, you agree not to use the information found here as medical advice to treat any medical condition in yourself or others, and you're always going to consult your physician for any medical issues that you may be having. My closing. The world is shifting. We need you at your very best. So please take the steps to always be upgrading. Remember, while life can be painful, putting the pieces back together is a beautiful process. I love you. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel. Big love.